Okay, so we're using the old overlay today, but I'll have Hungry Hungry Zombies back up and going for tomorrow's stream. What we're working on is Open DJ Radio. We started yesterday and we got the environment set up in Angular CLI. And then also we started to implement the implicit flow authorization. And we now have that working with Identity Server 4. I have a number of different videos on that, which you can look at youtube.pixelhorrorstudios.com. So what we're going to do now is we're going to continue forward with our music request app. And since we have the auth in place, we probably should be able to get a sample app, because I'm looking to do continuous integration on this app, up within the next couple of days. So let's see what we can get done today. So where I left off here in Angular is that I had created this auth component with an auth guard, and I don't think I'm using my auth guard anywhere at the moment. Let me see. If I look for auth guard inside of this project, you're bringing an auth guard service here from index.ts. This is authguardservice.ts, and it doesn't look like that I'm using this anywhere yet, so I have to see where I'm supposed to implement my auth guard. But for now, if I was to run this app and we do an ng serve open, here is our app at current. We have a home and a YouTube. YouTube just brings us there. When we log in, it should redirect me over to my identity server that I got set up yesterday. And it does. And now we can log in with, say, Google. And now we're logged in. Okay, so this is good. We're going to continue forward now. So what I wanted to look at now is, well, I actually wanted to continue to have that open. So let me do that one more time here, where we stop this, we terminate it, and then I make one new window here. So the next component that I want to have in here is a well, let's go ahead and do the app YouTube, okay? So if I look at my app YouTube component here in component HTML, we have a link to it. And then inside of my home, I should have made a if login, you have this. Otherwise, we want to have here the app YouTube, and then I want to have a button here, which when we click on this will be a logout. Okay, and then in my app YouTube component, if I look at this, I need to have my new piece of TypeScript in here, which is my YouTube service, which is here. Okay, so somewhere in here I have a player. This player.player set player. Let me see where this is being used. Now, the problem is that I'm missing something here. I have a library that I'm using for YouTube that I have to find. Just a second. I'm just trying to find it. If you look at app component.h.ts, this is good. This is my login. So it looks like I have it here as something called a YouTube module that I'm importing into my app model TS. So if I look here, I should do a import YouTube model from Angular YouTube, Angular X YouTube. And this is what I'm going to use as my YouTube component instead of the API that's listed on their Git page. And the reason I'm doing this is because here it is. It's because that way it already comes with all the Typescript and everything I need. The definitions, the Typescript definitions that I need. Okay? And now that I've done that, I also need to bring in my YouTube component. Or YouTube module. Okay. And now that I've done that, if I look at my YouTube component.ts, I should be injecting this YouTube service here, and I am. And then you have this on ready. Okay, all of this should be good to go. You should be setting your player on ready. Interesting. So in here, instead of having that YouTube, we're going to need to add a YouTube component in here. So we'll do it up here as a div class equals, and it's going to be my column 4. And in this one, we're going to say that I'm going to have a YouTube component, which is going to pass in a video ID which we're going to define, and then we'll have a ready event, which will do a on ready passing in the event, and then also a change. We want to do a on change of the event. Like that. Okay? And so now if I look at YouTube, we'll just go to mine. That's interesting. I should add some metadata, it seems like, to that. We'll take a look at this app, and then I want to copy the video URL, which is here, and we'll just bring in the video ID. Okay, now when I run this app, we should have a login, and we now are in fact playing YouTube. Okay, so that's just the beginning of our YouTube service. So what we need to do is reframe this so that it fits correctly. So to do that, I want to look at my first, in this YouTube component, I'm going to pass this in as a video ID. The second is that I want to reframe it. So if I look at my TS here, sorry, it's in my YouTube service. We want to add in here a new reframed variable, which is a Boolean, which will be false to start. And here, after we set the player, if this is not reframed and it is reframed, then we're going to, and this one goes here as a bool. Then we're going to say this dot reframed equals true, and then we're going to reframe my player.a. So it's not going to be able to do this yet until I import it, which is an import reframe from reframe.js. And now we need to add that, which is a reframe.js node, npm. Is this a personal project or a business? It's for my business, no turning, my business, Pixel Horror Studios. We're going to go ahead and add this here, reframe. And now when I look at my app, now it should resize this app to whatever size that I've made my component here. Just a second, where is reframe? That's it, okay. So now that I have the YouTube component, I need to have a search component for YouTube, right? So to do that under shared, I'm going to make a new component here called ng generate component called search. And we'll do an ng generate service called search. I'll make a new folder called search. We'll bring in our components. Let me do that again. Hey there, Serializer. Good morning. How are you today? Okay. And so now when I look at my search component.html, we need to have a couple of different pieces. The first is search, and I want this to be a form. And my first will be an input type is going to be a search, which is a name is equal to query, and my ng model will be query, and on my key up dot enter, we want to search. We also want to have another button here of a type button. Which has a click event called search. I'm ill. Oh man, I'm sorry to hear that. But otherwise good, and you? I'm doing great. Working through some Angular work this morning, which is always fun. Working on that app, Open DJ Radio. Okay, so now also in my search, I want to have a table, but only if I have search results. And so in this, I just want to show a table head here, which will be a song name, and then also a T. Looks like you forgot to do a T head in here. And then you want to have the T body where you're going to have a row, which is going to be a ng4, the let result of search results, and then let I equals the index. And then here I'm going to do a TD, and we'll have a router link here to my edit page of the person of the result.id. And we'll do a result.name. And that should be it for the HTML. Oh, I didn't see it. I'll get back to you, I promise. I didn't see it there, serializer. So now when I look at the TypeScript on this, the first thing is that I want to have in here a search service. Which is what I just declared as search service. We also want to have a OAuth service and a activated route so that we can get our parameters. Okay, we need to have a function here called search, which will return void, and it's going to say this.searchService.search this query, and then this is going to be an asynchronous event. So we're going to subscribe data as any to this.searchResults equals the data. And then we want to do an error, which will do a console.log of the error. Okay, and now we need to have a search results up here, which we're going to do as a we have a query string, we have a search results, which will be an array of, and we haven't defined this yet, but this will be a song search request or results. We need to have a sub for the subscription. In my interfaces, I need to make a new interface here called interface I song search results, like this. And then we need to have in the like that. Where is person being defined? Okay, so it's defined inside of my search service. So when I look in here, I want to have a name, which is a string. And now inside of search service, let's build this. The first thing that I want to have in here is a well, this is searching through this fake data set that I have of people. So we don't necessarily want to do that. If I look here at my YouTube component, we have something called a app queue. We'll worry about that in a minute. But if I look at my YouTube component, since I'm not trusting this, if I look at my YouTube component, this should be doing request song, skip. Request song should be playing in TS. This one wants to be true. This one, okay, when I look at my TS in here, I'm not actually ever doing the search. And so you should have a YouTube service in here. And on ready, you're loading this video and playing it. So we don't want to do that. But when we are requesting the song, if I look at my YouTube service, this needs to be the search snippet, which we're just going to say is this. So let's give it a run after I comment this out. It's unhappy with me, probably in app module, that it can't find search service. And now it's telling me unclosed tag for form, which was a search component.html. This input type here needs to be a button like that. Hey there, Z Shantomboli. How are you doing today? Welcome to the channel. And now you can see that we're reframed. And it should reframe to whatever size that I set in my here. So we'll put this back at 4. Well, it's not set up with Bootstrap at the moment, which is okay. But now I should be able to do a search term like that video. Here, and just have this, and now when I click request song, it should play the video, and it does. Now we need this to actually search. So to do that, I think instead of using this search component, which I can probably scrap, I'm going to do it with a chat component and set it up using SignalR. So let's do that. We're going to do a ng generate component called chat. And now I want to do an ng generate service called chat. And we'll bring these two into chat. And inside of chat TS for the service, we need to have my functions in here for SignalR. We're going to be using SignalR and WebSocket to have our data objects go back and forth, as opposed to using Ajax or any of the HTML requesting mechanisms that come with Angular. So the first thing that we want to do is I need to have a private, which I'm going to call a hub connection, which will be a type of SignalR.hub connection. Now to do this, we want to do an import everything as SignalR from, and it's ASP.NET SignalR. And now we're going to look here for this Angular NPM. And our install is here. We're also going to need to have the user that we're logged in as. And we'll define that iUser in the interfaces class as iUser, which will have an ASP.NET user ID as a string, the username as the string, the display name as a string, and the room as an iRoom. Because we're going to have below this an interface for an iRoom, which will be a room code, which is a string, a is public, which is a boolean, and that's it for now. Okay, I also want to have in here a private, and you can only be in one room at a time. So I'm going to say that this is my room code, is a type of string, which is equal to nothing. And then also I want to say that my private, I guess you could be in multiple rooms, but you only own one room. So like this. and then you want to have a message, which is a string, and then a messages, which is an array of message, like that. And when I look at a message in interfaces, I want this to be a interface iMessage, which will be a user, which is a type of iUser, and a message, which is a type of string. So now when we're starting this, we want to do a couple of things. The first is I want my OAuth service. The next is I want the activated route so I can get the parameter of the room that was passed in. And now we're going to assign that to the route by going this dot route dot query parameters dot subscribe, and we're going to do this by subscribing the parameters here to be that this dot room code is equal to my params of the past name query parameter of room code. The next thing that I need to do is I need to have a connect to hub on here. So we'll do a connect to hub, passing in a hub URL, which is a type of string, and it'll return void. And it's just going to do we're first going to get my access token by doing the OAuth service dot get access token. And then we're going to do a this dot hub connection is equal to a new SignalR dot hub connection builder. And we're going to pass in the URL here of my hub URL plus the token, which is equal to my access token, and the room code, which is equal to this dot room code. I'm going to make a note which is going to say we want to base 64 this convert to base 64 string this access token. Okay. We also want to build it. And now also I need to subscribe my hub invoked functions here, and we're going to say this dot hub connection on when we get a receive message. We're going to have these, we're going to receive the data here of an iMessage and pass back this dot receive message of message. So let's go write that. We have a receive message down here, which is a message, and all we're going to do is push this onto messages. We'll also have another one here for receive user, which will be in a user iUser, which will be returning a void. And we want to do a this dot user equals user. And then I also want to say now if this dot room code is equal to nothing, then I want to say that my this dot room code is equal to my default room. And then if we have a hub connection, we want to invoke it and do a join room and pass in the room code. Okay, we have a few more functions we want to have. We have a send message, which will be a message string. And it's going to pass a void here. And we're going to say var data equals a type of iMessage. And we're going to say that we have the user is equal to this.user and the message, which is message. Sorry. And then we need to send that message. So we'll do a if this has a hub connection, then we want to do a this.hubConnection.invoke send message, and we'll do that with my data. We need to have a request song, which will be a request of an iSongQueued request, which will pass void, and we're going to say if this.hubConnection, then we will invoke request song. We need to have another one here called get rooms, which returns nothing. And again, we're going to do an if this.hubConnection, then we will invoke get rooms. Okay, we have a few more of these. We did this for receive message. I need one here for receive data. And this is going to be data as an iChat data, which we don't have that defined yet. And in this, I want to say this.user is equal to data.user. This.room current is equal to data.room. And then this.event room received dot next this.room current. We'll have to look up exactly what this is doing here. Room received is a new variable up here called room received, which is a new subject, so we can subscribe to it as a room. Subject as a I room. Okay, we need to have in here in interfaces a iChat data. Which is an interface iMessage of a user iUser and a room iRoom. Okay, the next one is a receive rooms here, and we're going to pass in rooms as a iRoom array, And all we're going to do here is this dot rooms is equal to rooms. We need to have another one for a ping request, which is just going to pass in a ping of type any. So if ping is equal to ping, then this dot hub connection dot invoke ping response, and we'll catch that with the error in the console.error error.toString. Is that the only invoke? No, so we can get rid of this. The last one here is this.hubConnection.on server ordered disconnect, and that's going to pass in nothing except for alert to let me know that my server has disconnected. And then we want to do this.hubConnection.stop. And then finally, after all of these functions, we can start the hub. And we'll just do that. That should be it for this service. Okay. On my chat component.html, I need to have in here a div for a fluid container first. And then we're going to have a h3 which will say send message. And now in this we want to have a class of a row. And then we'll have a form, which will be an inline form. And on ng submit, we want to fire the function send message. Okay, and now we need to have a div for a class equals a form group. And then we'll do a label. And we'll display it for the message like this. And then we need to have a input type equals text, class equals a form control, ID is equal to message, placeholder is equal to enter message here, and we need to have a name equal to message and a ng model here equal to message, and it's required. Finally, we need to have the submit button. Which needs to be a class equals button, button primary. It's going to be disabled if my message form is not valid. And this says send message. Now we also need to display our messages. So we can do that right here by doing a div with a class is equal to a row. And we want to do an ng if, oops, like this. My messages dot length is greater than 0. Then we're going to have a div in here with a class called table responsive. and then a table in here with a class equal to table and table striped, and then a t head with a t row with a t head with a messages, and then a t body, which is we're going to have a table row for each one of my let message of messages, let I equals index. And then we'll do a table definition that's bold for my message.user.username. And then we'll stop the bold. And then we want to give it a message.message. And that should do it. Underneath this div, I want to say div class equals a row. And if my messages.length is less than or equal to 0, then we want to do a span here, which is going to say no messages. Finally, in my home component, I want to add up here a chat at chat. And now we can give it a run. Failed to compile, cannot find namespace YouTube. In YouTube component, .ts, cannot find namespace YT. And this is in Angular X YouTube. Okay, we need to add in the types here for YouTube. So we'll just do that. You're missing A somewhere, I think, on interfaces? No, I was missing the TypeScript definitions for YouTube. Okay, now we should get this thing to fail because it's not going to connect to the SignalR hub, as you can see. Here's my chat message, send a message. If I look at the chat component, it looks like I've got an additional. And now this is probably trying to start my hub. So if I just turned off the hub for now, So in chat component, it's telling me that my chat component TS needs to have a couple of different pieces on it. The first one is messages, which is an array of iMessage, which is this.chatService.messages, and we need to inject that. So a private chat service. And then also I need to have my message that I'm outputting, which will just be a string. And on init here, we want to do a this.chatService.connect to hub. And then also I want to do a send message here, which will be a void. And it's going to do a this.chatService.sendMessage this.message. And when I connect to this hub, we're just going to use a temporary hub at HTTPS localhost. We'll say 44361, and I'm going to say that this is open. We'll say this is chat hub. Okay, so now if I turn this off, it's giving me an error at subscribe. This one, because it's not getting a route. Where is this failing? If I look back at app component and I get rid of app chat, that didn't do it. If I get rid of app YouTube, that didn't do it. That looks fine. That looks fine now. Okay, it seems to be doing just fine now. So we'll add back in my app YouTube. And this is where it's failing. So if I scratch this out, and I did a log out and I logged back in, yeah, that's fixed. So it was definitely here where it was trying to pass video ID. Which would be coming off of the YouTube service. or YouTube component. So is it this? That is what it is. So it's caused from this video ID. So we'll just cut this out for now and put it in a notepad. You build in OpenDJ radio music app? Yes, I am. Okay. And now I think we're ready to hook it up to the hub, because if I started my chat component here and I tried to join, it's now going to fail on me because it's not going to know the hub. And you can see we're not currently erroring, so I want to show that here. In the connect, and we want to catch this as a error, and then I just want to do a console.error error to string. Like that. Not many streamers do Angular. Thank you, Recursive Chat. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Where do I work? I'd rather not say that. Okay, let's go ahead and try it again. And this time it worked. But I still don't see it connecting to the hub. So could I do a console.log of my access token right here? So it's no longer displaying the chat service. And now it should be working and letting me join the hubs. There we go, there's my access token and no connect to the hub. Okay, so here, now I need to set up my ASP.NET web app. So let me go ahead and close this one for a second. We can close this out and close this up. And we're going to create a new project inside of OpenDJ Radio. And we want to make a new project here called a web core application. And we're going to make a new folder called OpenDJ Radio dot. And we're going to say that this is the, because it's more than just a web API, so we're going to say that this is the backend EBS. Just a second. Just a second. Do we want to call it EBS or do I want to call it backend? What do I want to call this? Web API. It's fine by me. And we're going to say that this is OpenDJRadio.WebAPI. And I want this to be an API with no auth, like that. Do I know JS? I know enough to be dangerous. Okay. And so now we need to start to configure this, and we need to make it talk to the identity server. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a short break. I'll be back in 10 minutes. When we come back, we'll go for another 15, and we'll get the backend server up and going. Thanks for staying with me. Enjoy the break.